I will. So we're here. And there's a lot to talk about. And I just want to say, first and foremost, that we will continue the show. So I don't want anyone to be concerned about what's coming or what we're going to do going forward. But there is a lot to unpack. Kat Negrita, Jimmy Zimzam, Chris Garrett, Schultz, Linda Fontes, Arif Hassan, Holly Horn, all of you guys. I think the thing about politics, which is unfortunate, is a lot of times things don't work out the way that you want them to for X amount of reasons. The discouragement factor is very, very high because a lot of times what ends up happening in politics is we get ourselves really excited about the prospect of what is possible. But then reality sets in. And then you realize there's a reason why certain history happened. There's a reason why we had the Roman Empire. We had Genghis Khan. We had the Ottoman Empire. We had the Crusades. Why we had all these senseless wars and leaders throughout time, the American Revolution, the French Revolution, Napoleon Bonaparte. Mao Zedong, Hitler, Stalin. People kind of look around and they wonder themselves, why does this occur? Why do we feel that we're on the right side of things? And it doesn't pan out the way that you want it to. The thing about politics, and this is why the system is going to break, is because if Jen's race against Wasserman Schultz is any indication, we really did knock on 50,000 doors. We put out multiple mailers. We sent multiple text blasts to everybody. I think we did good work. But obviously we were somewhat limited in terms of our funding. And you got to make do with what you got. One thing that we did have in 20 that we didn't have this time, I was able to get a number of signs up around the district. And I was also able to get up a TV ad for Jen multiple times on prime time shows that the average voter in this district watches. It didn't happen this time. Campaign was a lot shorter. Fundraising was relatively, fundraising I would say was better because it was a shorter campaign. But a lot of people are disillusioned with electoral politics, especially on the left. And that, in a sense, is just, like I said, it's reflective in a lot of the issues that the left politics tends to have. There isn't a lot to go on because the infrastructure is not very solid. Now, I believe in the left structure, and there's a lot of things that I did over the course of this campaign. And I believe that Wasserman Schultz is the bane of many of our existence. But a lot of people are just not involved at the level that you really need to be at if you really want to see this through. And that's a big part of the problem. I don't like that this connection sucks. Can anybody confirm if the connection, the internet connection, is just not good? Because I'm trying to get this thing working here. I don't know, Colin, is there anything I could do on my end? Because I don't want to be sitting with a Fritz the entire time. I certainly hope people can
you could maybe at the bottom of your screen in settings. Oh, I'm gonna wait for you to come back here.
I can't hear you. Say that again.
Go to your settings, to your camera, and change your camera resolution to maybe something lower so it's less stress on the internet.
Interesting. That's what it is? All right, so how do I do that? Do I have
Settings
to
at the
get
bottom?
out of here and you're going to talk to everybody?
No, you just at the very bottom. No, in StreamYard here at the bottom in settings.
Oh,
hit
okay. All right.
Camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
Try 720 and we'll see how that goes.
That's what I hit. See if that works. Is that better? Yeah, that's much better. Okay. All right. So I think that might have fixed it. Guys, how's it looking? Everything good? So yeah, politics will humble you. They will. Now, I was obviously very upset, comparatively speaking, in 20 to the way I feel right now. But the thing about Jen is, she fought for what was right. She felt it was necessary to run for Congress and be unabashedly pro-Palestine in a part of the country that has one of the largest Jewish populations. Now, granted, in this particular congressional district, it is nowhere near as Jewish as it once was. It's also gotten younger. In addition to that, a lot of the Jewish people in the district are Republican, so that are Zionist. That's very important to note as well. But the truth is, Debbie has infrastructural advantage, and she uses it for all it's worth. A lot of people obviously did not come out to vote the way that they should have. It's understandable because a lot of people are disillusioned with the whole process. And we had a rocky start to this campaign that unfortunately was not something that we could have foreseen happening. And of course, Maxwell Frost won. He's the incumbent and he's done a decent job. So that's to be expected. But it is very hard to break through in these places. I see this from a different lens because, I really, like I said, I really believe in the cause and I really want to be out there. But sometimes the problem with not having a real infrastructure is you don't ever really know where you stand. Now, we as a team did a poll a couple of months ago and showed Jen in pretty good standing, 41%. Now, how big that poll wasn't substantial. I mean, it was several hundred people, but it doesn't, sometimes it just doesn't gauge all of the issues that exist within the given congressional district. Now, one of the big problems that Congressional District 25 has, and it was even worse in 20 compared to now, but one of those issues that was very important that a lot of people need to know. In our district, particularly in the western part of the district, there is a substantial amount of gated communities. And they do not want you in there, knocking doors, listening, doing anything. And I'm talking tens of thousands of people live behind these gated doors. And not only that, but these gated communities, it's not just affluent people. These are people that live in regular apartments and they feel that they have to all be gated so that no one has access, so that no one can knock those doors or engage in the community. The political machine fights in a lot of different ways. One of the ways that the political machine fought against Jen was that she basically gets iced out from the community. People are not allowed to associate with her. And if they are ever seen with her publicly, then they will be given a reckoning of sorts directly from Wasserman Schultz if necessary. And that's something that actually happened. In this particular district, Don, I can't really say because, like I said, the district lines have changed significantly. It was a portion of the district that used to exist. It's not there anymore. It's very possible that a lot of people voted against Jen for that reason, but that shouldn't have made the difference one way or the other. Uh, but the truth is, if you're trying to win a congressional seat, you need money. You need serious money, and we didn't have it. We had a decent amount of money, but nothing like what you would in terms of running an ad on TV 2 times a day for a month. Like, you don't have that. And that requires several $100,000 on the surface. Got to have mailers, and those are important. You have to have, obviously, a ground game, and it's got to be effective. And there's got to be different ways of capturing the audience that you're trying to knock doors on. All those things are relevant. I think this is just proof positive in a lot of ways that when the entire community is really just afraid to do what is necessary in order to make that change, you get to see why the country ends up the way that it does. It's like when people ask, how do we end up with Joe Biden? How do we end up with Kamala Harris? How do we end up with Donald Trump? Trump's a little bit more of an anomaly because he's outside the system and became a system himself. And now everybody in the GOP answers to him. So when people are looking around at Kamala Harris and wondering, well, how does this happen this way where they just decide, okay, you have it? Because the system's broken. There was not a single Democratic club or caucus that had any interest in talking with Jen or hearing her ideas, anything. They don't want to know. It's a closed-off infrastructure. That's a big part of the problem, which is why we've emphasized time and again that the only way that the real change is ever going to occur is going to occur through a labor movement. There's no other way. I don't know how big the pro-Israel vote is. Frankly, I don't give a shit. It's free Palestine. That's the bottom line. I really think, and this is what I've learned, I don't really get bothered by anything that any of these, party sycophants and people that are just so critical of anything that anybody outside the system chooses to do. Yeah, May 1, 2028, that's what Jen's saying. We are what we are, guys. And I really put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this for Jen because I believe in her that much. My life has changed significantly for the better. I have a career, and I believe in it, and I think it will continue to go well. I work in commercial real estate. But I also know that there are different things that we must all do going forward if we're ever going to succeed. There are way too many egos. There are way too many fragile feelings. And there are also people that you think are your friends, but they're really your enemy. And that includes people that were sabotaging Jen behind the scenes. And that was going on, which is not surprising. The thing that we've learned is that the two-party system is something that is eventually going to, I don't know if it's going to disintegrate, but what will end up happening is people are just going to lose complete faith in it altogether. They're not going to make the effort that is necessary to make that change because ultimately the people that are sent there to make that change, that are hired by the people to make that change, they don't do it. They decide that they're just going to become a part of it because that's easier. It's not as difficult. Trying to go through the brick wall is a lot harder than going through the open door. And that's ultimately what ends up happening. When AOC won her race in New York, she had an army behind her to get her to a 15-point victory over Joe Crowley. We had no such thing. Many people are hired for their silence. I know that there's going to come a point in my life where I'm going to end up running for office. I know it's going to happen, and I'm prepared to do it when it does. I don't know what it's going to be or where it's going to be. I also know that this podcast will continue. We're going to continue to talk about the things that need to be talked about, and we're not going to turn into some hack channel like a lot of others end up becoming, because all they're thinking about is money. I do this because I believe in it. I have a career that does not involve politics, which is great. I want you all to hang tight for 1 minute, maybe even 30 seconds. You do that for me? We'll be right back. And we're back. Hello.
We can't do it anymore. It's been tainted. Oh my God, we're so close.
Move over.
Oh my God, no.
Well, actually, no. I think
You have to.
this
move
camera's
over.
like really. The camera's like angled off to the side.
Well, because we haven't been here together in a while. We're kind of.
I think we got to change the title.
We need to. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, we haven't been here. I haven't.
The
sat
light
here
does
for a long
not. The
time.
light does not work.
I think it does.
No,
Okay. Well, that happens.
it
Some-
does.
Sometimes it happens. We probably would if you reboot, but we don't want to do that right now.
No, thankfully, what ended up happening was I turned down the resolution, and that ended up making a big difference. Yes, they did. And again, as we have said, well, thank you, Colonello. Jen, thanks for trying. You think she tried? Why don't you look at my feet?
Him.
Why don't you look at my feet right now? I probably knocked on excess of 4,000 doors for this woman.
It's not for me though.
Well, it's for
and
the movement.
that's the thing. I'm not sad about for me. Like I'm not sad that
No, I'm
I
sad
don't
for the people that want change. But
I am
as
too.
I was saying, it's
sad. I feel there's people that are stuck, that are collateral damage,
Yeah.
that don't know they're in a bad way even. And it's unfortunate. You know, it's sort of like how, you know, I feel like I'm the least affected person in some ways. But yeah, no, we're going to keep doing the podcast. Actually, we'll switch some stuff up, add some things, maybe go back old school, start doing more graphics and stuff. We used to do like having different like special segments and stuff. I think that's what I want to definitely invest some time into that. We're also going to switch up the studio a little bit, changes to come with that. We're going to have like a rebirth of sorts.
We'll focus on this, but I'm going to bring it up because I want to get it out of the way. Now, this would not have made or broke. Thank you, Nancy was an amazing contributor to the campaign. We thank you for knocking on doors in your neighborhood.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You know what? And also, before Peter says what he says, let me, like I've said many times, say that the opinions of Peter Hager do not necessarily represent that of the show or.
Okay.
I don't know what you're going to say. Do want to preface with that? I don't know what you're going to say and what you're going to talk about.
Okay. So what I do want to talk about real brief.
Before you mention names, I would suggest you say some. Tell me privately. Don't be just mentioning names.
The person who is in charge.
No, I don't think that's a good idea right now. I really just don't.
Okay. Don't be, Nina. The fact is, as I was saying at the beginning of when we got started, it's very easy to get discouraged. What you learn, though, is that you just got to find another way because there are other pathways to be involved. Now, do I think that Debbie cheats? Debbie cheats in every conceivable way. It's not it's not like manipulating the votes at the ballot box. There's things when you have literally a generation worth of infrastructure that's in place.
Yeah.
Now, I spoke to my father briefly, and he said the only reason that Jen didn't win is because she didn't have a couple of $1 million behind her to really get her message out there, because he thinks you're great.
Well, that's nice. And also let me preface this with half of what my strategy was that I started working on 2 years ago, which would have been another component of this campaign, never materialized. So in some ways for me, I knew that that I didn't have my full strategy working. And it was something that I did consider, and I knew, and there were points where I wasn't going to, and that's one of the reasons why we launched as late as we did, even, is there were points where I was considering not doing it because there was this other like strategy component involved that didn't happen. So we did it without it. And, and who knows, maybe it wouldn't have mattered. Maybe it would. I don't know.
No, but the truth
There's no way
is
to
that
know.
there were things that we did last time that we didn't do this time. Granted, we knocked on a hell of a lot more doors, but the truth is we never got our ads up on TV. We did not have even one billboard, which would have been nice. We had 4 by 8 billboards spread out in the district in a handful of different places. We also had more time last time.
I never even saw any of those.
No, you didn't see them? No,
No.
I thought you did.
Never saw one.
Oh, well.
I don't care.
Anyway, what ends up happening more often than not that people need to understand is that the way Debbie cheats is basically to put her hooks into people and tell them, you get out of line and I'll have your ass in a sling. And that's it. And it only has to go out to one person because then everybody else understands how this is going to work. There's a reason why none of the clubs and caucuses would even entertain speaking with Jen.
Well, I didn't even try this.
You didn't need to.
No, it's a waste of time.
Part of that is true. And then the other thing which I was mentioning is that when you have, and our friend Nancy who's here can
And we
attest
were
to
also,
this.
I was left off the voter guide.
Yeah.
There was that too.
The Democratic Party left Jen the voter guide on purpose.
Oh, for sure.
And so the thing you also have to remember is that there is a significant portion of the voting demographic in key precincts in this district that all live behind the canyon walls. So when you live in a gated community, the only way you're
It's
reaching
harder.
them is you figure out a way to get in there and drop lit, and even that's not enough.
We
Or
did 3 mailers.
You did mailers. Don't know if that's everybody.
They didn't all go to everybody. That's not how it works. But we did.
You do have to have real money. And if there's a D component, you also have to have people that have faith in change. And there's a lot of people that we connected with that said they had faith in change, and in reality, they didn't have it.
Well, it's that, and then people just get caught up in their own stuff, and at the end of the day, they don't really come out and vote, and
True.
That's what it really is. I mean, and it's not the priority. The truth is, it's just not the priority to most people that it is to us, and that it is in our circle of people. And I think that that's what people want, like, that's what I don't want people to feel disappointed about, that we're working on this campaign. That's what I always feel sad about, is that people are going to be so disappointed, but this is just sort of how it goes.
I think people are just disappointed because they're disappointed that they have to deal with her.
Well, I
She's
think
a
that
big part of the problem.
I think that, and and truthfully, I mean, and for me, this was never personal, and it was never about getting that job. And that's fine. There's lots of different ways to do things. I actually am more and more, the truth be told. If, let's say, I had won this thing today, my thought was that I would go to Chicago, but I would be outside.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what that really tells me, and what I know in my head, is I'm with the people outside. I'm with the people outside. And I think that it's shown that not only is it just like difficult electorally to get in, but the real power is only going to come from everybody on the outside, no matter who you get on the inside. And I've said it a lot of times. So that's what so when I thought about that, like, let's say I win this, I would want to go there, but I would still want to be, I would be much more in line with the people outside the convention than inside the convention. And that's the truth. That's who I am. So it's not shocking.
No, I don't think it's,
because that is where I'm more like, I in some ways, there's a lot of relief in being able to be free to do the things that I really want to do. Like, I love I went to protest at Cop City, and I love doing those kinds of actions. And those things come with certain risks. And when you're running for office or you're thinking about being involved politically, like electorally, there's certain risks that you just can't take. There's certain levels that you can't go. And that's what Corey was basically saying. It's like you take the strings off. Now, the truth is that I've never really had strings like anybody like Corey did from being inside of Congress, but just even any sort of political aspiration where you have to do things. So I don't know. I mean, I'm much more aligned with when we have our guests and people who have been watching the show know, like when we have guests on and we have people on, most of our people think that it's silly that we even are involved with Democratic politics at all. Like most of the people that we associate with or our guests or experts, journalists, all of the people, none of them are inside party people, none of them. And there's a reason. And that's what it is. And it isn't so much about everybody coming together for a third party. That's neither here nor there.
No, the other thing you got to remember is
the outside movement.
Yeah, and the outside movement is much bigger than what's inside, because we saw it firsthand when we helped out a local friend become the mayor of Plantation. And when he did that, you could.
Oh yes, that is true.
You could go to the most MAGA red house, the most vote blue no matter who house, and the truth is, once you remove the label of the D or the R, it becomes, well, what's this person all about? And then you learn that you can get anybody. But unfortunately, in the current system we're in, which is done deliberately, we can't get anything.
Yeah, it's harsh. But what we do know, and I actually have some ideas about this, that we had talked about this a while ago about doing strategy and getting people in seats in state house races that are winnable races around the state.
Sure.
And dealing with things at that level, because that's just so much more doable. Like there could have been 20 seats or so that we could have had. And that's the kind of thing that would be a better use of our energy and our time, and really strategizing per district, different locations, and what we like. That's sort of what our friends were trying to do at some point.
We have fantastic people involved, Jimmy. And that is one thing that we can never take away from the efforts that we put out there in the community.
No.
Is that we do attract really good people. People that were either volunteering, and obviously people that were working for the campaign, but believed in the mission. And what we do from here compared to 20 is going to be a lot more, I'm getting text messages right now, but I'm trying not to pay attention to them. Our need to recognize that, yes, it is a rich man's game, especially at the federal level. It just is. Do I think Jen would have definitely won another million or two behind her name? You never know. But there's still a lot of people that are just going to continue to vote for Debbie, frankly, until she dies or they die.
Don't point at me. I'm not dying.
But that's part of it. We are in a part of the country where it's not, it isn't to our advantage to stake our flag.
Well, that's the thing. And I've been saying it for a long time. Well, just in any politics, quite honestly, where we live is going to be underwater anyway.
And unfortunately, one of our friends wants out of Florida too. And it's understandable, because this is kind of a hellhole in a lot of ways.
Let me tell you, politically, geographically, demographically, it's not great. The thing that people like is people who have money. If you have money and you like warm weather, then that's the thing. People coming from cold places and have money, then this is a fine place. But yeah, it's a struggle here for most people. It's a big struggle. There's so many things are difficult. People on fixed incomes, especially, and sadly, a lot of them.
He's really going.
Oh, good for you.
You better tell us where, Sam.
Sam, can I come?
Yeah, you're gonna have to drag Jen with you.
Take me.
Yeah, might be North Carolina.
No. Where are you going, Sam? So yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for the people here.
Yeah, I might relocate to the Panhandle.
See, that's what I think we should do, and I would totally go and do that. That's what I think we should do, and I think we should.
Jen thinks I should go run for Congress as an independent against some douche canoe in the 2nd district.
I do. Yes, I do think that. And I do think that that would be a really good place. Like, yes, I do. I think you would very much appeal to that demographic. I think that it would be where we would have no having to deal with the party. There would be no Dem stuff. I think that seat could be won by an independent. I do.
Here's what I will say about being a political independent, which is very important. There's a couple of things that a lot of people.
Oh, hey, Mallory.
Yeah, well, Mallory left as well.
Yeah, everybody's leaving. See, I don't need to stay here. But no, I do think you should run in that district. And I do think that you should run as an independent. And I do think that we both have that kind of cross appeal. You have that sort of populist, libertarian, appeal that would appeal to people, especially the middle people. I think that's what I think.
Here's what you all need to know.
Turn a Republican seat to an independent populist seat.
So here's what you all need to know about politics, which is very important. I say this to our friend Jose Vega, who's running an independent campaign against Richie Torres in New York's 15th district. And obviously we are wishing him all the best. The truth of the matter is this: politics at the federal level is a rich man's game. End of discussion. If you don't have the financial infrastructure, you can't pull it off, because you have to be able to get the message out consistently. You have to get the votes, and you have to get the community to coalesce. Now, what I would say is that you're building these relationships, and we've built a lot of great ones, especially in the Muslim community, the Haitian community.
Oh, yeah.
You don't run away from an election and say, all right, well, it's over now. No. The people that you connect with and that you build from are where so much of this happens.
Yeah, because most stuff is local, and it's all about building coalition, which is what I've said all along. So at the end of the day, there's always been, like, I've always thought there's the possibility of being a nonprofit, of doing something where we can get grants. I still like the idea of doing community closet. Then there's the idea of helping, Mo with her endeavors. Like, there's a lot of different things that we can do in terms of helping and building up coalition. Because at the end of the day, really my goal is general strike, May 1st, 2028, general strike. And oh, that's sweet. No, yeah. I mean, don't feel sad. I mean, I know it's disappointing. I know it's unfortunate, but it's okay.
Donald, here's where you're wrong. And this is what I need to explain to people. There comes a point in a lot of people's lives, and you may be young, you may not be, but I can say this as somebody who now has a legitimate career and has also lived in the Bronx with nothing but a bed on a floor with a couple of hangers on a windowsill. Some people get so beaten down by life that they just don't care anymore. And they'll vote for their slave master, like a lot of people in this community vote for Wasserman Schultz.
Oh my God, am I reading this right? Are you telling me that Mallory and Chip basically are living in the same place in the middle of nowhere in Texas right now, like just coincidentally? That's cool. Yeah. You guys.
See how we really connect people together?
See, it's all about building coalition. No, seriously, at the end of the day, this is about.
Remember though, vote harder.
Vote harder.
You don't vote hard.
No, but it isn't that. It's really, we need to just keep building coalition to get to where I want to get. It's going to involve labor people. It's going to involve all different movements. Like what we're seeing right now at the DNC in Chicago is very impressive to me for a huge reason. And this is something that I've noticed on several different independent channels that have been covering the demonstrations outside of the DNC right now. Is what's really amazing about this is it's all of the different organizations with different issues. All of the different organizations with different issues, whether it's the LGBTQ, the women's reproductive abortion rights, all of that. And yet they all agreed. This coalition, by the way, was formed as soon as the DNC announced that it was going to be taking place in Chicago. So it was a long time ago. People are always planning on what they're going to protest at the DNC. So even before we knew what was going on in Gaza, before any of that happened. But all of those organizations, all of them are marching for Gaza because that is what is important right now. So that's the premise that I've been saying for the longest time. When we get all of these organizations to show up for each other's issues, that's the general strike. That's how we get there. And so this was nice to see for me that they all are there. They have their own organizations. I definitely saw the abortion, rights women there and stuff. And yet they all were with Gaza. They were all standing in solidarity with Gaza. They all agreed. And we're talking like 30, 40 different organizations, like a bunch of organizations that agreed that they would all put their issue on the back burner for the DNC and focus on Gaza.
You know, the problem in this particular district, and again, this is about getting out the message that you need to get out. Housing is a serious problem here. And we did the best we could to get that message out there. And the current representative actually actively, and listen, no matter how long I'm here involved in the area, I will continue to, especially in the line of work that I'm in, I actually know this stuff. I will continue to impress upon people that live here that your congressional representative actively works against you to not be able to afford to live here. And that's a fact. One of Debbie's top donors is Blackstone, the biggest corporate landlord in the United States. That's fact. Now,
I did see that Jesse Ventura endorsed Kamala, but I think that has more to do with Tim Walz. But even still, yeah, it's not good times.
Yeah,
not good times. But in all reality, for him, where else would he? It's not good times.
Yeah, and we'll continue to build relationships with a lot of the young people. Again, Jordan, our friend Jordan Chariton of Status Quo, and I are texting right now. I mean, listen, no one's happy about this. This is just reality of where
I
we
feel
are.
really free. That's the thing. I
Sure.
do. And I've always said it, I'm always more prepared to lose. The idea of winning is infinitely scarier to me. And there's a huge responsibility with that,
There is.
and so,
Which is why it's easier to be corrupt. It's just easier to be corrupt and go along to get along because everyone watches each other's back. If you want to know why so many people lose faith.
what's interesting is she had like 41,000 votes or so in 20.
Yeah, no, the vote totals are less, but again,
But that's way less. Like, that's crazy.
and
less.
Jordan is correct that we have to know what the exit polls are and where the votes came out for her and where they didn't come out for us.
Well,
But the truth is that where the votes come out for her are in the wealthy western parts of the district.
I'm sure that our manager will parse all the information.
Yes,
But
we'll get a lot of that.
and the truth is, it really doesn't matter to me.
But no, it's important to a degree.
Why? Why do we
Because
care?
I think people need to understand why it is that way. Even though people say that they're going to vote, they don't.
They don't. It's just not as important to most people. It isn't. It's not their top of mind. Like, especially voting in a primary. It just isn't. It's not a priority. That's always the issue.
Yeah.
You could have all the best connections and all the best advertising even. But at the end of the day, if people don't go vote, it really doesn't matter who they would vote for.
And I will tell you that this is a big reason why people lose faith right here.
In Kamala Harris, we have a chance to elect a president who is for the middle class because she.
Since when?
I can't, again, guys, and if you haven't, I haven't been on very much, but, in interviews I've done recently, I never thought I would be a single issue voter. And I used to mock the idea that there were people that were single issue voters. I'm like, how could you do that? But it never occurred to me that issue would be genocide in my lifetime. So unfortunately, I am now also a single issue voter. And it's unfortunate for people like this that they don't grasp that. So yeah, I never thought I'd be a single issue voter. It never in a million years would I have ever thought I would be a single issue voter. I am so much more reasonable than that. Like, it really takes a lot. So it's got to be quite an issue, don't you think?
Of course. But this is also part of the problem that when you invent that, if this was the watershed moment back in the summer of 2018, and everyone was so excited about getting in a Bernie mini-me, if you will, of sorts, who also happened to be Latino extraction, it's like it was all there and it made sense, even though I consider her to be a real lightweight when it comes to speaking in a way that I think commands an audience that really has a presence. Now, let me tell you, Ilhan Omar, now she really holds a presence when she's speaking. But this is Alex doing her thing.
I have to know how much of this I'm going to be subjected to.
Wait a second, minute.
Okay.
Is from the middle class. She understands the urgency of rent checks and groceries and prescriptions. She is as committed.
I don't understand. How does she understand these things when you're not going to address her record in California, which I think would be very important because of the things that she did as the Attorney General, which, again, Donald Trump is going to talk about, and you will not be able to just wipe it away with a brush.
She has bigger issues than that, because I think that the problem is, her biggest problem is that she can't speak unless it's planned or teleprompted.
Or cannot shake herself of anything the Biden administration.
That's why
is
she
going to
can't have a
do.
press conference.
Yeah.
Committed to our reproductive and civil rights as she is to taking on corporate greed.
So when she was Attorney General of California, she had the opportunity to prosecute Steve Mnuchin for kicking people out of their homes. And that is well documented. And she didn't do it, even though her Attorney General office recommended that she do. Now, why didn't she do it?
Someone called her.
Somebody wanted to become a U.S. senator and ultimately become president of
And
the United
needed
States.
the kind of bundling money that would be not there if she were to go prosecute someone like Steve Mnuchin.
So then why go up there and make that? You don't have to say this. You don't have to say it that way. It's not necessary.
No, it's just.
You're not winning over new people by saying it in that context. No one is debating that.
Oh yeah,
Colinello.
no, I don't. The truth is, I'm not. The only time I've ever criticized her was on literal votes that I just was like not pleased with. Like I've not, and I don't know. I don't know.
But the problem that Colinello and a lot of other
You're
people
yelling.
are missing. Yes, she has constituents to represent, but Double K and Colinello, you're all missing a key point here. When you get up on stage and you talk like this, you know what you end up doing? You end up depressing people's level of interest in being involved in the political process. That's
well,
a fact.
I think they did that when they decided to anoint someone without a primary. Because I got to tell you, that really turns me off of participating in a group's electoral
And so
process.
she's got $500 million already. Where do you think that money's coming from?
Silicon Valley, Wall Street.
And she is working tirelessly to secure a ceasefire in Gaza and bringing hostages home. And I, for one, am tired of hearing about how a two-bit union buster thinks of himself as more of a patriot than the woman who fights every single day to lift working people out from under the boots of greed, trampling on our way of life.
What is she
Like,
saying?
what is this?
It's a platitude.
In Kamala
salad.
Harris,
And it's not.
we have a chance to elect a president who is for the middle class because she is from.
No, that is not what this is.
She grew up in Canada and in a very, like, she's not, what middle class? What is she talking about?
It's like
Oh my God.
no one is arguing that point, Double K. Most, if not just about all incumbents get reelected.
My issues with her are more out of just sad and disappointment, more so than any sort of bad feeling, or like, I don't have bad feeling toward her. I feel sad. I feel like, and I've said it before, she could have been the Mockingjay. Like, there was an opportunity that year when she won to really do something with that. And I don't know, and so for me, it's just more just like sad, but I don't have like hostile feelings.
And I know
her.
that Double K will appreciate this. I mean, the only person that I gave a damn about hearing speak at the DNC was Sean Fain. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't really need to hear anybody else.
Yeah, there's no one else I want to talk. I
Like,
would want to hear
he
anyway.
will go up there and he will
And
say,
James Taylor was going to play, which
Yes.
that does sound good. That would have been the only thing I would have like tuned in for, because James Taylor I do like.
you make this sound so easy. It's very hard.
Hmm.
And on top of that,
It doesn't. I wish it worked that way, because if that were if we didn't have the system that we have, that would be right in theory.
sure. And again, for many people, they are playing the game. We've had Jasmine Crockett on the show multiple times.
Yeah, I'm not an insider.
No,
I'm really not. I mean, I'm not an insider.
I'm not an insider either, but I think that, and this is the other thing that I will say regarding running for office as an independent. The same applies can do this.
We probably should have rebooted. You probably needed to when you instead of when you started up and you didn't reboot. That's probably what it.
No, I adjusted the camera, and apparently that made the difference.
Okay.
I guess I thought that was the case.
I don't know. No, it's just.
Oh, it's coming back.
Yeah,
It's coming back.
All right.
We got it.
Yeah.
I just, I know one of the things that ended up happening in 20 when Jen ran the first time is that we didn't build as strong of a coalition in terms of the relationships we built that were long lasting, the way that I think the relationships will be much more lasting this time around with people that we've connected with. It takes a long time for these things to come together.
That's what people don't really understand. Like a campaign is a short period of time, but the work that goes into getting to the starting point of even being viable, it's a lot more than that.
Which is also something that people have brought up regarding why Corey and Jamal were knocked off, but Summer Lee, Rashida, and Ilhan are still in Congress. And one of the key reasons they mentioned is because they are people that were elected that came from the state house. They had already built an infrastructure with relationships.
Interesting.
It was already there. And then you go.
That is. I didn't know that was like the difference. That's interesting.
So making sure that you are well protected is also part of the problem. I think that there's going to be opportunities for Jen going forward, working on different types of projects, dealing with AIPAC. Because somebody's going to have to do this. It will not be defeated.
I'm not going to Tallahassee, Sam. But I would be happy to help people get to Tallahassee.
Sure.
That we're having issues. We're having, but yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
And I totally respect that, Double K, because at least that particular issue, and you don't even have to say union, you could just say labor, because labor is the issue.
Yeah.
If you're fighting on behalf of ensuring, and I've said this, I've been saying this for a while, I've been very clear. Joe Biden has not had a good presidency, but the best part of his presidency, bar none, is the NLRB. There actually has been infrastructural change within the National Labor Relations Board that has been positive for workers. It's not great, but it's a lot better than it has been.
Yeah.
And obviously what Sean Fain did for the United Auto, leading the charge for the United Auto Workers, that was real change. And that's necessary. It was so significant that you actually have Elon Musk giving Trump money hand over fist because he doesn't like the fact that UAW is with the Democrats, and you have United Auto Workers who work within the union at Daimler, GM, and Ford making double what Tesla workers making their factory. And so when we think about the different types of fights that we have ahead of us, it's going to be a lot to unpack, but we have to continue.
We're going to revamp the show. That's what I think.
Yeah.
We'll have
maybe next time we'll figure out how to put the damn lights on.
Well,
So it looks like their internet might have died. Oh, maybe they're back.
Yes.
We're here, but I don't know how long. Like we're definitely, I don't know what the deal is, but maybe we're okay now.
Yeah, we'll find.
I don't know. Maybe we're not meant to be on tonight.
Maybe we're not.
Maybe I'm not meant to be live tonight.
Maybe
but
Debbie's fucking with you still.
I don't think so. But I do want to like start doing some different things, working on getting guests and stuff again, and getting back into what I really like doing, which is reading and finding really cool things to talk about. And
I've got a book I've got to read.
I have so many things that I haven't
The
read.
Poisoned by Jordan Chariton.
I pre-ordered the the Audible, but it's not until September. So I'm gonna do the Audible on that. But yeah, so I got to get back into doing my reading and all the stuff that I got to do. I also want to get back into doing my art stuff and
Pilates.
Well, that's another issue. That's a foot issue.
Can you scooch over? No, the other one. Like, this is so ridiculous. This damn.
We're so well because we didn't get it all set up.
No, I tried.
We're all out of sorts.
All right, so
we're gonna have 2 cameras at one point. Is what we're gonna do. We're gonna end up. That's what I want. Sort of like how Sam and Emma have it, where they have 2 cameras. My husband has this idea of creating a mini bar, which is why now there's like a mini fridge and an ice maker that he bought to go in here. So I don't.
That makes sense.
He when he does his live streams, he like makes drinks and stuff, and they have like a scotch of the night and all his. I don't know.
It really isn't like that down here, Sam. It's just not.
Oh, nobody would come. You can't get people to. Nobody wants to do anything here. There's no real progressive. What we would call progressive. That doesn't really exist here.
Yeah.
The few people that there are basically people that were Bernie people, and now that's basically they don't really. Nothing else has happened since 2020 with them.
But as Jen said a while back, it's like I'm going to.
I'm so relaxed.
Just do what you have to do, which is just run as a candidate that is going to be unabashedly pro-Palestine. And that is the risk that you're willing to take, even down here.
Yeah.
And there are people that I'm sure are piling on Jen on social media. And you know what? Let them. Because in the end, they're going to lose it all.
But here's the other thing at the end, which really, again, is so amusing to me, is that I'm not on social media.
Yeah, I got to do it.
He sees it. I don't ever see it.
So now I got to figure out exactly how I'm going to.
And when the Zionists email me or call me, I respond politely and then block accordingly. Because at the end of the day, the Zionists, they don't want to have a discussion. They want to chastise me, berate me, and try to convince me how I'm a bad Jew and how I'm wrong. They don't want to learn. They don't want to become educated. And so I just don't want to talk to them. There's no point. There's no point in talking to them. So, and that's the thing. So, but the people on social media, yeah, I hope you guys get it all out of your system, all your Zion Nazi rage, get it all out of your system.
That's why I don't even fret it, because in the long run, you are literally forcing yourself into a corner you're never getting out of.
It's the thing. Like it really is. It's such an Icarus.
You really
situation.
shouldn't expose yourself. And this will be the last thing we could talk about tonight before we go. The people that came on in the last few days to really give it to Jen, that were all Zionists. Let me tell you something. They all look alike. They all sound alike. And they're all seemingly in the same profession, which is real estate. These are not people that are working people. These are not middle-class people.
No.
And in many cases, they're not even upper middle class. These are affluent people with ways and means, and they truly believe that they are above reproach. And they can say what they want, whenever they want, and they do believe that they are superior.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's definitely that. They don't want to learn. They don't care to know different. They want to just stay stuck in their position. And that's fine. That's fine. They can be there. That's good. I don't need to discuss anything with them. And I don't do social media. So they can be as angry as they want and get it all out there.
Yeah, no, there definitely is a way to make way in politics. But one thing you could take away from this experience this time around is that it's not that complicated. It's just not. But you also have to be strategic. And a lot of times people are not strategic. And there's also a lot of obstacles. I could tell you right now that me personally, when it comes to who I will organize with and try to get shit done with and make a difference with, progressive groups are the last groups I would ever reach out to.
Yeah,
and I mean
the
ever.
The worst.
Ever.
The progressive groups are
Nope.
useless.
Won't do it.
And we're talking like more regional, like Florida. Like we're not speaking on behalf of like every national.
Some people are very picky about things that they want to be involved in. Others not so much. But a lot of these organizations. Jen Double K has a question about a book.
What is it? Palestinians in Gaza since 2006. Either Max Blumenthal or Abby Martin. Max's book, I'm not sure when it takes place. What if Max Blumenthal has a whole book about Gaza, basically, and Abby Martin has done something on that too. It might not be a book. It might be more of like a documentary situation, but those are the two people that I know of that have covered Gaza very personally.
Oh, it is not a big tent at all. In fact, there's a lot of sabotage that goes on in these groups.
Oh no, it's not a big tent. And the problem really is there's a lot of mental instability. You deal with
100%.
When you're dealing with people in the political like industry, not just political people that follow politics, but people that like are in the industry and they're like the progressive people. There's a lot of mental instability.
There's also that with people that are neolibs. Same thing. They need to be led. That's why they get that,
they need to have their hands held. There's a lot of,
like I said, every once in a while, I'll give Jimmy his due if he has made a point over time that he's 100% correct on. And that is the reason why people get so enraged about Trump is that he's in their shadow. You see, the fact of the matter is that Trump is a leader for a lot of people, that the people who typically need people to lead them just don't like him because of how he conducts himself. But the fact of the matter is, those people that overreact are always the ones most quickest to say, tell me, dear leader, what do I have to do to follow, even though it clearly is not going to be benefiting me? When they talk about the abortion issue, they never want to talk about the fact that it was the Democrats who allowed this to reach this point.
Oh, yeah.
Where women lost their reproductive freedom.
But because they use it for fundraising.
That's it. It's all about money. And if you can learn anything from this campaign, Wasserman Schultz spent $30,000 on Oppo research on Jen.
That's
$30,000.
And that amuses me. Like I saw that Chris Garrett had said it, like that I was living rent free in her head for 5 months. And that is fun. I do take some pleasure in that. But yeah, I mean, she spent a lot of money going down a rabbit hole to nowhere.
And the other reason why the corporate money flows the way that it does and will flow in Florida and other places is because we have a consultant class industrial complex. That is a huge part of politics. It's a huge part of the system. You don't need, yes, if you're running against an infrastructure that has been in place for a generation, that's a completely different animal. But when you're talking about a regular race, could be a state house race, could be a mayoral race, who knows? But the truth is this, you don't need these consultants. They bring nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing that you can't learn through experience that is the same shit that they're going to try to sell you for God knows how much money.
And they will rip you off. Jen, maybe people just rejected your message. It's very possible. Maybe the Israel thing's a deal breaker. I said that all along. And again, I go back to one of the things I said when I first sat down here is that one of the parts of my strategy was to sort of combat that, and that never came to fruition. So we sort of went into this with, like, in my mind, I went into this with sort of half my strategy in place. And that's been a point of concern the entire time. It's been something I've thought about since 22, how to do this. It's been something we've talked about. I almost didn't even do it at all because it wasn't ready and it wasn't in place and it never came to fruition. But I think that, and the truth is, and you might think a two-state solution is the only option, but it isn't an option at all. And I recognize that people think that. I do. I understand that you think that, but there's no possible way of doing that at this point. And the reason there's no possible way of doing that at this point is because Israel made sure there wouldn't be. So there's no way to do that. In fact, the entire existence of Hamas was part of the strategy to avoid giving the Palestinians their own state. They wanted to divide the leadership from the West Bank from the leadership of Gaza. And they wanted to put in a radical group that wouldn't be, easy to negotiate with and would be more radical. And therefore they would always have a reason to not negotiate with them. So I understand that you think the two-state solution is a good idea. And yes, in utopia, if we could wave a magic wand and the psychotic Zionist state of Israel would just automatically say, yes, we will decide to coexist next to a Palestinian state. Even if they were to say that, how would that even look? Israel has completely cut up the West Bank into Swiss cheese. I mean, where would that be? Where would that be? So, again, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. When Israel says they will not abide Palestinian state, why won't people believe that? Why don't people believe that? I don't understand how people don't believe that. They say it repeatedly. They will not have a Palestinian state. They almost say it like, green eggs and ham, not next to them, not above them, not below them, like not in any way, shape, or form are they having a Palestinian state. And yet people still think that a two-state solution is an option. Well, then you should tell that to Israel because they're not having it. So I just don't see that. And quite frankly, at the end of the day, there shouldn't be a Jewish state anyway. Why do we need an ethno state?
I don't know.
I don't understand it. Why do we need an ethno state? There's Jews all over the world. There's Jews everywhere.
It's too much money, too much power. And this is the thing about coalescing around ideas that becomes a lot more treacherous and difficult.
Settlers are not being expelled. They're not going to do that. And at this point, it's just very clear. And I think people need to really just be comfortable with this because this is the hardest thing. This is really the biggest thing that isn't the message that people can deal with that I'm saying is we need to understand that the Zionist state is a failed experiment that hasn't worked, isn't working, and needs to stop. It's that simple. So we, even talking about two states doesn't mean anything if one of those states is a Zionist state, because the concept of an ethno state requires an ethno cleanse, and that is just not okay. So no, I do not support the idea of an ethnic state for Jews. Judaism is a religion. It's a worldwide religion. It's all over the place. And there's no need for us to have a geopolitical state to have self-determination. Jews all over the world have self-determination in whatever their nationality is and wherever they live. All over the world. They do. They do. So we don't need to have a ethno-geopolitical state for Jews to have self-determination. However, Palestinians have no self-determination because they don't even have a country because Israel won't let them have a country. They don't even have an ethnicity that they're allowed to put on a passport. They don't have passports. Like their whole situation is they're not even allowed to exist. So Jews are existing all over the world, self-determinant, in high echelons of governments all over the world, self-determinant. Like, this is so not complicated. The Palestinians have no self-determination.
This is what they're going through.
How can you sleep at night thinking about it, that your tax dollar are responsible of killing innocent children just because AIPAC controlled this country? We have good candidates, moral candidates. Wake up, America. Wake up.
We are human beings, and one human being cannot see the suffering of another human being, especially the women and children who are getting buried alive. It has nothing to do with the Democrat or Republican.
They also burned another family where they are sleeping, and the whole family died burning. This is in West Bank, by the way, years ago, and only one survived kid. His name is Muhammad that survived that, and it's protected by the Israeli terrorist forces. You know, I call them ITF, not IDF.
Press, you gotta leave the area or you'll send the press. You guys are gonna lose your media passes if you don't go to the park. Right here. Leave her alone!
I did that.
Right. No, and that's something we can do. That's another reason I like the idea of keeping the podcast, is being able to get media passes and being able to do stuff like that.
And this is what happened inside the DNC.
Impossibility. Fair. Impossibility. We're in the grip of a once-in-a-century pandemic.
If we love Joe Fine.
Historic joblessness. Calls for racial justice are long overdue.
They started chanting "We love Joe" to cover up the Palestinian protesters.
Really says a lot about just the difference of where the energy is. But of course, the energy doesn't really feel like they have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
And that's what I think a lot of people need to understand about this system that forces us into these positions where we feel like we have to choose something that we really don't want to choose because we think it's going to help us, but it could be hurting so many others.
Yeah.
That's why we need a new path, whatever that's going to look like. Not sure yet. And the same is true, and I would say this for myself as I would say for anybody. If you're going to run for federal office, it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, or running as an independent. It is a rich man's game. If you have the money, it's been proven by somebody as cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs as Ross Perot before the internet. Ran for president, you spent a lot of money, and you know what? Got almost 20% of the vote. We don't have that now. Think about how cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs RFK Jr. is, and he's polling anywhere from 8 to 10%. Think about it. If I was a little bit more stable in my positions of what I'm running for office for, you would find yourself supporting me and not calling me cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
You're not right on Israel. That's the problem.
That is not true.
No.
I have said before that Israel it's our outpost in the Middle East.
Yeah, that's the
what they
problem,
are.
and we need to not
I'm
have that.
saying the truth.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm wrong.
Oh, God.
Did you get the idea?
Point being.
Think about it. Think about if RFK was like his father or his uncle, like really that way, and he had 20, 30, 40 million dollars behind him. I mean, think about how effective he would be as a political candidate. I think I could be an effective political candidate, and I think I could be effective as an independent.
Again, I think that you can be an effective candidate in the correct race. We've had this discussion. Like, I do think that, yes, I think you would be amazing. And then not only that, but then technically, philosophically, if we were working as in an independent capacity, we would be much more aligned with our own selves.
Gail, I hope he does. I hope he gets 5% of the vote. But now there's talk. I remember, Mal, I know you did like RFK, and I liked a lot of his ideas. But you know what? Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I had my friend Kira Hall come on, who worked for the campaign. No more. Because eventually margin calls, and you got to show your hand.
It's whoever pays.
And so now there is a real conversation happening. And of course, it's not going to happen until after the Democratic convention. But let me tell you, it is not going to shock me in the least if RFK drops out and endorses Trump.
Yeah.
It's just not going to surprise me. Not at this point.
No.
Because he can't get any footing. And the truth is, if this was really about changing the two-party infrastructure in the country, then he would be in it for that reason. But that's not why he's in it. He really thought that he could find his way to a 25, 30% vote share. But it doesn't exist.
Right. He was actually in it to actually win, not because he was trying to take a stand on the party situation. Like, I will most likely, like I've said,
Jill Stein.
Yeah, I'm going to vote green. I mean, look,
It's Florida.
If Dr. West is on my ballot, then that's who I will vote for. But I don't know. I don't know the ultimate outcome of who's going to be on the ballot. But most likely I will end up voting for Dr. Stein. And it wouldn't matter to me if Florida was a red state, if Florida is a blue state, it wouldn't matter to me, because I'm not voting that way anymore. I don't care.
But that's the great thing about our group and the people that come on here and that we have our conversations with, like our amazing supporter, Double K. She is a union woman who lives in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin will be one of the 4 or 5 most important states in the general election. So it's understandable, especially since it's going to be such a close race.
Yeah.
And she is union, that she is going to be an ardent supporter of the Democratic ticket, because simply that is what is in her
and I get
many
that.
people's best interest.
And I get that. Unfortunately, I think that the damage in Michigan is too much for that state to be viable for that. I just don't see it. The abandoned Kamala group is bigger than Joe's margin was in Michigan in 20.
Yeah.
So that's a problem.
No,
that's a problem.
I agree. But of course, there's, like I said, there's a lot of things that will now happen going forward. We will powwow with our people and figure out what is the best way to
But we can go back to
this.
being Jen Change.
Yes. You heard that, Colin.
But I still think that I do like the idea of having that segment, because that's why I miss doing, like, I did that really cute graphic for the Pontificating with Pete segment. Like, I like having that as a thing.
And I'm going to tell you, Chris, this is emblematic right here of exactly why the left is a joke. And most people look at the left as a joke, because you've got 3 people running for president right now, Dr. West, Dr. Stein, and Claudia Dela Cruz, that if they actually knew what the fuck they were doing, and clearly they don't.
Again, the opinions of Peter Hager do not represent that of me or generational change.
One person. I don't care how you work it out. Frankly,
I know, but there's
Dr.
issues
Stein
there.
and Dr. West. It could have been a 2-person ticket, or whatever the issues were. My point is, if you ever think you're going to get to 5%, there's no way it's going to happen when there's this type of infighting within an infrastructure that is paper thin to begin with. So you add that layer.
It's a problem.
There you go.
It's a problem. I understand. But this is the problem with parties in general, because even when you're talking about the Green Party, or what's Claudia De La Cruz, what's the name of their party? It's like the socialist people, whatever it is. Yeah. Those parties also have their own rules, their own egos, their own bylaws and infrastructure, and their own little things. And that was what Dr. West had the problem with the Green Party is, and I appreciate that. The problem is parties. The problem is parties.
That's a big part of it.
And so, yes, we would obviously be better off with multiple parties than 2 parties, for sure. But I would rather there be no parties. And it is a problem, because every party infrastructure is a whole other like ecosystem of potential corruption and potential incompetence.
Which is also the reason why, and again, we could leave on this note, it's not about being left or right anymore. It's about recognizing where the people are. There's a reason why Sean O'Brien, the head of the Teamsters Union, spoke at the RNC. He requested to speak at both, and only the RNC accepted. Now, did the DNC know that he was attempting to speak at both? Probably, and they held that against him. The truth of the matter is,
it shouldn't matter.
What should matter is, where do you stand on your policy? It's like you, for the past several years, have gone on different podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
You've never changed your opinion. There may be people.
Well, I've changed my opinion, but not because I go on different shows.
Well, that's what you know what I mean.
Yes.
Like, your philosophy doesn't change.
Correct. Not based on who I'm talking to.
And the same would apply if I'm out there advocating for something.
Party for Socialism Liberation. Thank you, Linda. Yeah.
And so, and no, Jay, the Democrats are definitely not the left.
No, the Democrats are right of center anywhere else.
And the right is, and the Republican Party, they're trying to get them to do a horseshoe at some
They're
point.
just coming around the other side. Yeah, the Democrats are definitely not the left. And I resent that. I resent being affiliated with that.
We've got the same thing here in Florida, Amendment 4, which we hope passes along with Amendment 3, which is cannabis legalization, which includes home grow. So the one thing that Florida does do well is we do get good ballot initiatives, and we are a county strong state. So a lot of things that you would want to see, you can work on, and that can help.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that can be done. But truth be told, we have, like I said, a lot of issues.
Oh, we got issues.
And
Got some issues.
This
with
is
these
going to be
people.
able to get better. But my philosophy about politics is very simple. I would call myself a combination of progressive and libertarian. I believe in a free market, but I also believe in a combination of capitalism and socialism. And you cannot have a system that succeeds for everyone if you don't, at a minimum, have that.
This is why we should work as independent.
You just can't do it. You cannot tell me that even though every other country in the world that has any semblance of a first world democracy does not have single payer universal health care. Everyone's got it, and it works everywhere. And anyone who says otherwise is full of shit or on the take, or both. And there's a lot of them that are, including Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Right. And for example, like, so for our seat, so now going into the general, I support the Republican in our seat. I will always support the Republican in our seat, because the thing about it is, and I know him and he's a nice enough guy. I don't agree with him on policy, but at the end of the day, he's not beholden to corporate interests.
You see, Colanello, here's the problem again with the labels. I didn't say I was just libertarian. There's a lot of things that I agree with the libertarians.
I always say I'm a civil libertarian, but
sure, but there's also a lot of things I don't agree with.
But a social socialist.
The problem with the libertarians, and this is where it comes in with the balance between capitalism and socialism, is libertarians do not believe in any socialism. They think it's every man, woman, and child for themselves.
They don't believe in social safety net. He does.
I believe in universal health care.
Right.
I believe in a living wage.
Yeah.
I believe in the right to collectively bargain.
This is why you're not really a libertarian. You're really not.
I also am fiercely independent when it comes to our civil liberties. I believe we drastically underappreciate the value of our constitutional rights. We allow them to get eroded all the time. There are people that want you to believe.
Yeah, I did hear that.
That things do not evolve.
You heard this, right? That's true.
Oh, of course. Shocking.
Yeah, that I did know that
Sam.
happened.
Shocking. I tell you, man.
Yeah,
Who
that's
couldn't have
common.
seen that coming?
First of all, people, especially, I don't know if people in other parts of the country know this as much as people in Florida, just because we have such a large South American population here. But it is common, very common, for people to go to Colombia for dental work.
Mm-hmm.
Common. Dental work in Colombia. It is cheaper to fly to Colombia, stay in Colombia, and get dental work there than to even get that same thing even done here.
And here's a good example of something. This is where I'm extremely libertarian. I can't stand the woke shit. I have a very simple attitude about this. Live and let live. If people want to use pronouns, go the fuck ahead and use them. Do not force me to use them.
Nobody's forcing anybody.
Or don't ask me to, because I won't.
You know what you sound
But if
like?
you-
You sound like such a boomer.
But if you want to use them, if people want, if this is what makes them feel that they're recognized and that they're appreciated, then let them do it. It's not hurting you.
That's true. That's what you need to know too. Chip's right. Chip's right. Oh my God, Chip! I love that picture of of your new boys.
Well, I love dogs too.
It's, oh my God, I know their name. I know the name. It's going to come to me. It's going to come to me because I made him in a thing. One of them is Orion.
And unfortunately, Linda, this is a reflection of the system that we live in today. The people who can't hack it in capitalism love socialism, and the people who hack it in capitalism love it and hate socialism. This system is designed.
I don't agree with that. That's sort of like saying we only like socialism because we can't succeed in capitalism.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, because
what I'm saying is that it's always this.
Yelling.
No, it is always the system that creates austerity, like Chris Eddy talks about.
Yeah,
that isn't real.
Correct.
And so you're taught this idea that if you're not making it in capitalism, it's because you're a failure.
Yeah.
Because you suck. Not because the system sucks, which it does.
I'm not a capitalist, so it's not a problem for me to say that I don't think that's a good
100%.
system. I don't think it works. I think that it's a problem.
The one thing that libertarians have been very vocal about is that they do not believe in socialism for capitalists, and they cannot hit that harder over the head. Rand Paul has been on the fact that
a lot of them are very consistent on it.
We bailed out those banks. That should have never happened. They should have failed completely. The fact that Citibank did not fail, let me tell you something. I'd be a wealthy man today because I knew at the time. I can remember when I saw that the stock for Citibank was sitting at $4 a share. And I thought, you know what? Maybe I should just pour all my money into this. It would have been blood money in a lot of ways because the reason the stock went so low is because everyone lost everything. Oh, opportunity. Let me put my money in there. Now I'm going to get everything.
Am I a communist? No, I'm not. I'm not an ist.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I don't have an ism. I have Jenism. I don't have an ism. There's things I like about that. I like, okay, when we say, see, the thing I don't like about the term communist is, again, it's the labels get misused. The idea of communal living and the idea of small sustainable communities where people all kind of share resources and have like food forests and that kind of communal living. Yes, I do like, personally, I like that very much. Do I think everyone should have to live like that? No, I don't think everyone should have to live like that.
Don, that's actually, yes, it is winning, but it isn't the only thing that we can do. You see, most people are not strategic and most people do not have the time. The number one rule that I would teach people when it comes to politics and the way that you want people to be involved in your coalition, especially if you're trying to build an infrastructure, the number one rule that you have is simply this: the people you want involved have to have their own careers and they have to be outside of politics. That's the number one rule.
It's kibbutz, or when you say plural, kibbutzim. But yeah, I like that. So I do like the idea of that.
If you have a career, Double K has been one of our most amazing supporters for the past few years. She's a union lady. She's been at it for a number of years. She has a career and she's done well. And you know what? Those are the type of people that you want in your coalition for politics. You know why? Because they're not relying on the political system to make or break them. They actually have a trade. They have a career. They're doing something. They're not just sitting around online and complaining about why things suck. We all have a role to play and we got to figure out what that role is.
The reason he wants to know why people vote, the reason is that most people have no idea what they're voting for. Most people just vote for the name they know, if they even vote at all.
Listen, we fought a great fight, but at the end of the day, we didn't have money. We had a few $100,000, but a chunk of that money was taken at the beginning in an issue that I'm not going to discuss tonight.
No, we're not going to discuss that.
So when all told, we did have a fight. But you know how long our fight was really going on in terms of our ability to really stick it and put some teeth into this campaign? 2.5 months.
That's the truth.
That's it.
We got held up. We had some issues.
We did.
And again, and my full strategy wasn't implemented, but there was a lot of things. There was a lot of issues.
If we had started, we did not really get going until the end of May. If we had started in January, which is really when we should have.
I tried.
It would have been a lot different.
It was problematic. Part of the problem was that I couldn't get a campaign manager. And then I ended up with a campaign manager that was just sort of about fleecing us and about just sort of getting paid and not really about what we're about. And the problem is I even knew it, but I didn't have any other options at the time. The person that I wanted to be our campaign manager, who is now our campaign manager, wasn't available at that time.
And he's great.
Yes. But so the truth is we did get like a late start, and my entire strategy was sort of like not fully implemented, but even still.
And unfortunately, there is going to need to be a huge debrief with a lot of people.
Oh no, I never got anything from any PAC or anything.
So
nothing.
What we learned from this experience, as I've said before, and we'll see what happens going forward.
Oh, it's Nadia Mustafa.
Yes. So these relationships have to be built over time. One family becomes 25 families that believe in your cause and are going to fight for you, whether it's in South Florida or wherever else one might be. That's how it happens. Convincing otherwise is not going to change.
And that. Sam, the fact that, and I agree, like Sam saying he went in and voted just for me, but for no other race because you didn't know them. I commend you. That's what I do. I actually didn't vote for judges that if I don't know, I don't vote.
And this also
on that-
speaks
on
volumes of the overall
person.
problem where almost half this country doesn't vote.
Oh, here, and this is even way worse. Like I don't. What was the final numbers today? What was our final voter turnout?
Who knows? 12%,
12%?
13%, who knows?
Less than we got. Less than 20.
Insanity. But again, I'm proud of the amount of effort that we put in the 2.5 months, 11 weeks that we really had to make this happen.
Yeah.
And it's tough. Like I said, we had no TV ad. We had no billboards.
And that's not even really what it's
not
about.
everything,
I don't
but
think
it matters. But it's the little things.
I don't know. I think that at the end of the day, everything happens for a reason and it's very organic. And I'm not an inside person. I'm really not.
No. And there's also something to be said for recognizing that there are serious problems down here that in many ways are not going to be corrected. And that's a hard truth that a lot of people don't want to hear. I feel terrible for the people.
I feel bad for people that are stuck. But the problem is a lot of them, if they don't realize it, then I guess it's not a problem for them.
And that is a privilege for Jen and I. We're not stuck here.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But a lot of other people are. I fight because I give a damn.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying I would never run for something again, ever, but not here, not for this. But like at some
sensibility
point,
in recognizing that the Florida problem is a real problem.
Oh yeah. But, and the other thing is I honestly do believe that the next time this is redistricted, it'll end up being red. That's what's going to gradually happen.
Debbie's going to eventually be out of politics.
Well, first of all, her people die off in droves every year. But that aside, it's just one more redistricting away from just being red anyway. And even the fact that our district is now 46% Latino, like the demographics are changing a lot.
Yeah.
So it's not going to necessarily be a gimme. But again, I also think that everything south of Lake Okeechobee is going to be underwater. And, so.
And this is one thing that you are correct about, Don. If there is one thing that I hold infinitely more blame on, if people want to vote third party, that is their right.
Oh, yeah.
You have half this country that doesn't even vote. I never hear any complaining about that. And you know why you never hear anything about that? Because the truth is that the two-party system, especially in the Democratic Party, they do not want you voting. They do not want primaries. This is why anointing Kamala as the nominee is sort of emblematic of all of the problems that exist at every level within the party infrastructure. Either you're a part of the game or you're an outcast. And that's it. They may be able to pull the wool over your eyes this time.
Well, they got a 26% turnout in Wisconsin. That's not surprising for Wisconsin.
Nadia, the thing about taking out these types of representatives, and we could talk about this now, because remember, we've only been working together for a few months. These things take time. And a lot of the young people don't want to be involved.
They get bored.
They get bored. They don't believe in it. And when they see results like today, their attitude is, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Shit.
And the thing is, like, I couldn't even get a consistent group of Gen Zers to do a regular podcast on our channel.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't even get them to get together and do that regularly. Like, there was no, like, they're all interested, but then they don't really want to do it. So
now it can happen. But again, you can't be in campaign mode and be able to take the time to focus on these things. When a campaign is over, you can reassess and figure out how you're going to grow it from there. Now, the thing that would have been nice, appreciate you, Chip.
Thank you.
Really do. Don't be heartbroken.
Oh, no, don't
be heartbroken.
Go take the boys to the park. I want to go to the park with the boys. I might have to come visit you.
If you get hungry, get yourself a Snickers.
Well, now I know that he and Mallory live near each other. I should go out there and visit.
Yeah. I got to get out of here. I got to give myself a fucking break. I got to take
I have a camper and I need to go visit my boy.
I got to go to New Jersey. I got to go there for a few days. Just get out of Dodge.
We have things to do.
I do.
We have things to do.
We do. I'm going to do a little traveling, which I should do. I have a little money in my bank account. I might as well spend some of it.
That's very true, Colinello. Attention spans are shrinking with cell phones and social media. It's true.
It absolutely, without question, has destroyed an entire generation of cognitive capability. Think about
It
how
has completely delayed them.
well, not only that, think about how difficult it is as we talk about just this idea. And we actually like to read.
Well,
How
I
many
do.
people in general just don't actually want to read it, don't read at all? And that's a problem.
Yeah. Well, I try to rotate reading and audio, but yeah. So now I have other things I can do because everything
one
sits
thing-
on hold when there's a campaign.
The one
basically.
thing that you can always count on with me, politically, I will always side with labor over shareholders. Every fucking time.
Well, I would say most of the time, I don't think there should be shareholders at all.
Well, no, I agree.
so
I don't have a problem with investors, but there's a difference because the system that we have is a system that gives the value is given to the shareholders and not to the workers. Workers are expendable and shareholders are forever. And that's what has to change. It's not going to happen in the Democratic Party. You'll get your crumbs, but you're going to need an independent party infrastructure that is built around labor. If you get that, then you really have something. And it can happen.
yeah, I'm telling you guys, May Day 2028 general strike. That's like a real goal.
Yes, it is very difficult to get young people out to the polls.
Yeah.
We saw that firsthand.
It's true. The old people tend to vote more.
They
it's
do.
True.
And that was a big focus. But you know what? The old people have voted for Debbie for 30 years.
And they're into it.
That's a big part of it.
They're into it.
And there are people who actually feel like they have to be loyal. That's real psychosis behavior right there.
Well, it's unfortunate because what it really has done is contributed to like collapsing democratic ideals. Like it's really weird. The whole fact that we have a party that doesn't have primaries and that's now just accepted is so, and ironically, the same people that are trying to shove Kamala down our throat are telling me that I can't vote for Trump because he's fascist, is the party that just is shoving somebody into a seat that has not won a single primary vote. I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying,
the
like, I don't think
the election is too far away right now to think. And this is the thing. I thought that she was on a trajectory where there was no way that she could lose. The Democrats never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. The way that they have been handling this, the way that they will not allow her on TV, or that she just will not go on TV, the fact that she is only committing to one debate, the fact that no one wants to interview her or is allowed to interview her, the fact that no one is going to talk about her record as the Attorney General of California. You know what? People have a right to talk about it. And you could be as afraid of Donald Trump as anybody, but you know what? We have a right to have constructive conversations about these things. And especially as it relates to Gaza, she is not going to do a thing.
Oh, no. She's already put out, their platform specifically says, and I was watching on, if you guys don't watch Breakthrough News, that's one of the shows that I watch.
Colanello, I hear me now, quote me later. Even now, don't ever underestimate him.
Nope, you are way too far out to think predictions. There's no way to know that now.
Because remember, he has his ceiling. And it can only go up. She doesn't. She's been on a honeymoon ride for a month.
But the problem is that once she starts doing interviews and talking and having that,
but they're not going. It's not going to happen,
right? Because she can't go off script, which is why I've been so questioning how she was a litigator. I don't understand how she could have been a really good litigator if she can't go off script.
I agree with you. We are
totally.
But the only way things are going to change, especially around a labor movement, is when people come to terms with this reality. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are scared.
And unfortunately, it is requiring a generation of people to die off. That's
it's part of it, but it's not everything.
No.
So the fight continues. Generational change is not going anywhere. And we
thought there was no way he could win when he was running against it. I don't know who we is. I knew he was going to win against Clinton. I remember in 2015.
I didn't know until the last minute.
I knew. No, when you said there's no way he could win, I didn't know he was definitely going to win, but I knew he could win.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I remember very clearly thinking that if people didn't pick Bernie, that they were giving it more of a chance, because to me, the next person should have been Bernie or Trump. And I kept telling people, choose wisely. And they're like, no, we got to get behind Hillary. Bernie's too left. And I'm like, but she's not. She is a horrible candidate.
And the last thing, and I will agree with Double K on this it's not the Democratic Party at the federal level. The state parties, particularly a party like in the state of Wisconsin,
Yeah, it's different.
and then obviously probably the best state, which is the state of Minnesota. Sorry, I know the Packers and the Vikings and all that shit's very deep, entrenched shit. Football's starting soon. You have to remember this, that at that state level, that's kind of what you want to look for. You want to look for the states that are actually doing good shit.
Yeah.
That's
And
how
in
it's
Florida,
coming.
it's particularly bad.
Yeah.
We have very poor, there is, if any, democratic infrastructure here. It's really bad.
It is. It's very bad.
And the people that run as Democrats, like, for example, the person who they're putting up to run against Rick Scott, she is somebody that sat in Congress for one term and then got ousted. She wasn't able to hold on to her own congressional seat more than one term. So then they decided to give her a statewide race. How does that make sense? So I don't understand it.
Put me in Congress in 2 years.
Not here.
No.
Not in this district.
No, that's not going to happen. Put me in Congress in 2 years, and I'll run against Rick Scott as an independent. The only problem is that will the Democrats actually stand down, or are they good?
No, they'll put somebody in anyway. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But not
Yeah.
not running as an independent. You'd have to be established. I think you'd have to be established a little longer as a representative.
I think so.
But I
Rick
do
Scott
think
is somebody. If I ever ran for a statewide office, it'd be against Rick Scott.
that's what I had said. That's what I told you to do.
So we love you all. We appreciate you all. You guys keep us level-headed as best we can. It's not easy.
No, and we're gonna revamp, do some studio work. We're gonna probably take a break for a little bit. Curious how to campaigns there, reach out to Spanish speakers.
You have to speak Spanish.
Well, there is that.
That's that. I don't want to hear nothing about Spanish outreach bullshit because the Democrats try to convince you of that.
They don't.
Let me tell you, the Republicans are so much better at this than the
So
Democrats
much.
are.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
The Broward Young Republicans are so
Yes.
like they're an actual functioning. It's a whole different vibe, which is why I do believe eventually this seat will go to a Republican,
And it will be a Latino Republican.
probably, and a younger person.
Yeah, that's what it'll be.
And that's where this is shifting, and I'm fine with that. Get a long massage tomorrow. No, maybe Friday though.
We'll see. Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things that we ask you to do. We appreciate you very, very much. The fight continues.
I don't know when we're coming back. I don't know what your plan is. I don't know what you're
I don't
gonna
know
do.
either. We'll figure it out. We'll get back to you. Have a good night.
Bye, all.